Now, this, ladies and gentlemen, is funsies. This I thoroughly enjoy. So I told you the other day, we did a segment the other day where I told you, the war between Trump and DeSantis is officially underway. It's now happening. It was a Cold War for a while, where sort of don't like each other. There were maybe a handful of potshots here and there. Trump went after DeSantis for being a weasel on the vaccines and not saying like whether or not he got the booster shot, and there were just little sprinkles of it here and there. But it kind of cooled down. It was a Cold War, and then now it's heating up. Now it's becoming a hot war. Why? Donald Trump is jealous that DeSantis has consistently risen, either one. He's consistently gone up, let's go with that, in the polls, and is closing in on him. So there's a poll that came out of Florida in a Republican primary where they vote in Florida. DeSantis has 48%, Trump has 40%. This is the first time a Republican politician has clipped Trump in any state since the era of Trump began. So he don't like this. He also claims that, remember when DeSantis sent the immigrants to Martha's Vineyard? Well, not only did Texas Republicans not like that because he stole Abbott's idea, right? Trump, behind the scenes, was saying, no, that was my idea. That was my idea, and he stole it from me. So he's jealous because DeSantis does all these things which gets him, fawning praise from right-wing media, and Trump wants to be the guy. So Trump was taking shots at DeSantis behind his, I made him, saying stuff like that, right? Look at this. Ex-staffer says DeSantis torches Trump in private. Quote, moron who has no business running for president. All right, let me give you some more specifics here. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis routinely torches former President Donald Trump in private, calling him a moron who has no business running for president, according to a former DeSantis staffer. DeSantis has dominated headlines lately with his ostentatiously political transports of migrants to places like Martha's Vineyard and maybe Delaware. He was planning on sending immigrants to Biden's house. I don't know if that panned out. But Trump continued to dominate Republican primary polls despite weathering bombshell after bombshell in the FBI probe of documents seized at Mar-a-Lago and a summer of devastating January 6th hearings. Now, look, on that point, I don't necessarily agree. Yes, in the immediate aftermath of the investigations, he went up the polls. He's now going down. I said in the long run, it's not going to help him. It doesn't help you if you're under 8 fucking investigations. That doesn't help anybody. Hillary was under 1 investigation and hurt her in the polls. Trump, the laws of physics apply to Trump just like they apply to anybody else. So being under so many investigations, bad. Doesn't help politically. It just doesn't. It just doesn't do it. People who have that take, it's the, big brain, like, oh, I'm going to be a contrarian. No, in the long run, it hurts him for sure. So, and that's why we're now seeing DeSantis closing the gap in Florida. He's ahead. Okay, let's continue. But DeSantis has without a doubt emerged as Trump's main rival. And he has done so by projecting himself as a version of Trump with less baggage. That's important. That's exactly what DeSantis is. While speaking not a syllable against Trump. According to a former DeSantis staffer, it's a different story in private. In a new deep dive for Vanity Fair, Gabe Sherman writes that the enmity goes both ways, with Trump resenting DeSantis because he, quote, made him. This is where it gets interesting. While DeSantis and the former president are already locked in a 2024 Cold War, the smackdown has been unfolding off camera. According to a former DeSantis congressional staffer, DeSantis trashes Trump in private. Quote, he calls him a TV personality and a moron who has no business running for president, the former staffer said. DeSantis tells donors that if he takes on Trump, he would launch a full frontal attack on his record and competence, according to a GOP source briefed on the conversations. DeSantis says the only way to beat Trump is to attack him head on. All right, let me pause here. So another story we covered recently is that now there are right-wing donors who are giving more to DeSantis than they're giving to Trump. The head of, he was either One American News or Newsmax, donated $20,000 to DeSantis. Trump, in turn, has called a lot of these right-wing donors and said, what the hell are you doing? Remember who your boss is. Remember who your daddy is. And they don't want to face the ire of Trump, so they're sort of now being scared back from continuing to donate to DeSantis. So DeSantis is saying behind closed doors, if I go at this motherfucker, I'm going to end him. I'm going right for the jugular. Look, here's where I totally break from DeSantis. You don't have the political clout to do that. Everything DeSantis has done to this point has been brilliant and has worked specifically because he's not a Trump sycophant. He's not saying anything pro-Trump, but he also hasn't uttered a single anti-Trump word. He's just, in his world right now, Trump doesn't exist. He acts like he doesn't exist, at least until this story came out. It was like, Trump, I don't even know who you're talking about. And when he does that, he gets to build his own brand, do his own policy stuff, appeal to that right-wing base in whatever way he sees most fit. And that's why he's gone up in the polls. The second he were to try to go do a blitzkrieg against Trump, you're going to lose that battle, dog. You are. And here's the thing. Trump in 2016 always knew, I'm not going to throw the first punch. I'll be nice to everybody unless they come at me. And then if they come at me, I'll end them. So, Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush and John Kasich, Ted Cruz, he didn't say anything against these guys until they came after him. Then he was like, oh, well, fuck you then. I'm going nuclear. That was the brilliance of Trump in 2016 campaigning. It was the counterpunch strategy. Trump has started to throw the first punch at DeSantis, and that's Trump fucking up. But unless and until Trump really starts to go at DeSantis, he cannot and should not fire back. Because DeSantis needs to avoid making it look like he's throwing the first punch. Because that's when, what you want to do is you want Trump to really just let it all hang out against DeSantis, and then you'll have right-wing media be split on it. And they're like, whoa, why are you attacking the dude who, if you don't run in 2024, maybe because you can't, that our best option, you're taking him down? How fucking selfish is that? There will be right-wing figures who hate it if Trump starts launching an all-out attack on DeSantis. Now, if Trump does that, then DeSantis can respond. But what he's saying here is like, if I want to do it, I'll end him. No, bitch, don't even think about it. He'll end you if you start going after him really aggressively first. So, look, that's my breakdown of the situation. Obviously, that's all opinion, but I'm basing it off of 2016 and the dynamic I saw back then. I think that same dynamic applies. I think Americans don't like the first asshole. I think if it's the defensive asshole, they're fine with it. So, all right, where was I in this? Trump, meanwhile, vents about DeSantis constantly, according to people who speak with him. Trump's animus is fueled by his belief that he put DeSantis in the governor's mansion. In conversations, Trump reminds people that then Congressman DeSantis was losing by double digits during the 2018 gubernatorial primary until Trump backed him. Sources said it galls Trump that DeSantis hasn't acknowledged the boost Trump provided. Aside from a cursory acknowledgement in his victory speech, Trump tells people, I made Ron, a prominent Republican told Vanity Fair. Trump says that about a lot of people, but in this case, it's actually true. There's also reports that Trump was criticizing Ron DeSantis' weight, which is hilarious because you're fatter than Ron DeSantis. Despite Trump's dominance in primary polls, DeSantis has shown signs of being a credible rival against Trump in certain state polls and often runs better than Trump against President Joe Biden in state and national polls. As their rivalry spills out into the media, the lines of support could become clear. So, look, he's played his cards right to this point. This story leaking is the first semblance of, like, DeSantis going at Trump. I'll be very curious to see how this plays out, but my guess is this is going to heat up more and more and more, and I'm definitely here for it. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.